What is good, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're going to be talking about a very historic card on a very historic night. UFC 322 in the one and only Madison Square Garden, where Islam Makhachev joined a select few fighters who became double champion. Now, going into this fight, there was definitely a lot of hype going into it. Islam Makhachev, who was a very dominant champion for years at lightweight and has the most title defenses, is not only that, very high quality title defenses against high level competition like Charles Oliveira, Alexander Volkanovski, and Dustin Poirier. And most title defenses in UFC lightweight history. And, he answered a lot of questions. He was definitely very skilled, at that division. But, we didn't know how he would hold up in a bigger weight class with bigger opponents. But he showed that that he was more than big enough for that weight class and even more skilled than the fighters here. Now, going into this fight, I thought it would be a really even 50-50 matchup. In JDM's previous fight, he really showed out of the formula for dealing with wrestlers in MMA. He was able to, not only defend Bilal's takedowns, but to also, get back up and punish him for trying to take him down. But, Islam's just on a different level. He showed a variety of techniques that was able to secure him the takedown. He was kicking JDM's calf a lot, which really limited JDM's ability and made it a lot easier for Islam to take him down. And I think the real big difference with Islam and these other welterweight grapplers is his speed. We see JDM being able to, see these takedowns coming from a mile away, but then Islam, 1 second he's, out of range, out of pocket, and then next second he already has you on the ground, and the variety of techniques that he used on JDM, of course we mentioned the calf kick, which made it easy for him to take them down, but then he just spammed different things, judo throw, single legs, double legs, okay, and he was able to throw them at lightning speed and just plow through JDM's takedown defense to a 50-45 dominant decision. We have another double champion in the books, and he has now tied Anderson Silva for the biggest win streak in UFC history, the longest win streak. And I definitely think that Islam might actually retire as the GOAT. Okay, honestly, he probably already is the GOAT. Okay, and with these other welterweights, definitely, they're looking very big. We'll talk about that later. Long reach, big muscles, but I believe that Islam has the strength to match them, even more speed and even more skill than all the welterweights there. I think he's probably going to reign at welterweight for a long time if he wanted to, and I'm definitely excited to see what the division has in store. Probably my favorite division right now. For the co-main event, now this one kind of saddened me, as an Asian man myself, I was rooting hard for Zhang Wei Li, a true queen of mixed martial arts, the queen of the strawweight division. And I was instantly I was kind of scared because I saw that, even though Wei Li is jacked as fuck, she was um quite a bit smaller than Valentina Shevchenko, and then Valentina had a dominant decision. But, she's taking a break right now, and she will be back. Probably the most entertaining, um, women's fighter out there. And this one right here. Now, this one was especially unexpected. Sean Brady, Michael Morales. Now, Sean Brady had a very dominant performance on Leon Edwards, former champion, with great grappling. Now, Michael Morales, he he showed a very high level fight IQ. Okay, DC talked about this with his stance, because he had a very strong low stance with his hips back, making it a lot harder, making it impossible for Sean Brady to shoot takedowns. And because of that, and he was forced to strike with him, and Michael Morales just pieced him up and eventually had a smooth yet disgusting knockout in the first round in the first 3 minutes. Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. Leon Edwards, I don't want to be too mean to this guy. This guy inspired me a lot, but that was a very, very surprising knockout. Very shocking, okay? But honestly, it was the perfect left hand, perfect technique, absolutely beautiful, just straight down the pipe from Carlos Prates. The narrative going into this fight is that Leon is a very skilled fighter. You know, he might have struggled with wrestlers in his past two fights, but now he's fighting a striker, and things are going to be different. But then Leon was forced to grapple, okay, and because Protez is so skilled, so long and explosive, he was able to knock him out, this skilled champion, in the first round. And like I said before, I'm very excited for what the welterweight division has. And these two guys over here, both physical specimens with knockout power, and I'm very interested to see how they match up against Islam. Even though I think that there is a big skill gap between Islam, and that's definitely going to, that's definitely a big factor on whether or not he's going to win, and he probably will win because of the skill. Definitely be interesting to see how he'll deal with these bigger, lengthier welterweights. And this one, wow, wow. Okay, this fight was pretty scary. Okay, Beneil Dariush, I pray for his recovery. He's a good man. Um, in this fight, he unfortunately, he tried to outdog the dog, Benoit Saint Denis, and then he got knocked down and was out cold. So Beneil, tried to come in with a knee, but then Beneil got hit by Benoit with some uppercuts, and then got hit with a clubbing right hand, or I think it was the left hand, but a clubbing hook, and that was all she wrote. But overall, these first three fights definitely set the mood. 3 KOs in a row. Very, very awesome. And these fights, obviously, not the most flashy fights, but very impressive nonetheless. And I am very happy that we have Islam Makhachev as the welterweight champion. Um, you know, it'll be very interesting to see how he matches up against the rest of the welterweight division. But what I'm very excited for, okay, is Islam Makhachev is champion at 170. Ilia Topuria is champion at 155. Yo, okay. Hey, I'm just saying that's a banger fight. Everybody wants that. Okay, Islam has a chance to shut down his haters again, and Ilia Topuria has a chance to prove if he can become the first triple champ in the UFC. But at the end of the day, very exciting times to be a UFC fighter. Well, yeah, it is, but very exciting times to be a UFC fan like myself. And I'm very excited to watch these fights and to tell you guys about it in the future. Anyways, thanks for watching. Until next time.